All right, Trevor here. Welcome to Out and About with Trev for the first episode for 2019. From the start, you probably noticed from the opening titles that I've decided to drop the weekly catch-up bit about my videos. It's put me under a bit of pressure to try and get regular content out, and sometimes I've rushed it, and I think I'd prefer to focus on quality. Instead of just trying to get stuff up every week. Some weeks I've been busy with some other stuff, and I'll get to that in a minute. But I just thought I'll try and put something up early in the year, and sort of talk about what I'm focusing over the next few months. So at the moment it's nice and warm. Tomorrow's actually going to be very hot. It's going to be about 40, 42 tomorrow. So I thought I'd get out and do this today. I'm on the balcony at the back of the house where I live. I don't know if I'll still be here in 12 months' time. Who knows what's going to happen? We're not really sure. So the next 12 months could be exciting and interesting in different ways. So we'll see what happens. But while I'm still here, I prefer to make the most of what I've got here. And over in the last sort of November, December, I was absolutely flat out doing some paid work, which is, I think that's what it's about. I mean, I've got all this gear together to get into paid work, and that's what I want to do into the future. And that's what I've been studying for the last 3.5 years. So in doing a bachelor's degree media degree, and that's what I want to get into is paid work. So I've been lucky to get into some of that. I can't show you some of it because it was for one of the corporates, and it's they pay for it, so they own it. So I can't show. That's just the way it goes. But what I can say is that it was great to do some work. I was doing some work for Bosch Australia, and that was awesome. And it was about their people that are involved in the corporate games, which you look up on the internet and you can see there's, I don't know, 15,000 or something people play that all over the place. It's played, Melbourne, Sydney, all over. It's international, in fact. So that's a chance for people who normally might not get to engage with each other. They might be from different departments, or they just might be spread out. Some of these companies are fairly big, but by being part of a team or playing in a sport, well, they get to talk with people they wouldn't normally get to engage with. So that was a fun project, and I really enjoyed it. And I've actually got stuff locked in for early in the year, so hopefully there'll be more on that a bit later on. In the last 12 months, it's been great to use my gear for some really important stuff, and there's been various campaigns and protests that I was asked to come and film, and I was happy to film. So there's certainly stuff by Defend and Extend Public Housing, and they have regular protests on the steps of Parliament House basically every month. They had an extended program, or a different program. They had 10 days, I think it was, 10 days where they were camped there 24/7, again on the steps of Parliament House, just trying to get the message across to, well, basically members of society, the corporate world, the government, that we need more public housing, and that's just the way it is. We've still got the state government who are going ahead with their public housing renewal program, and I've called it out for being called bullshit. It's not the public housing renewal program at all. Call it for what it is. Okay, you're ripping down public housing and you're going to put back something that's different. So that's not public housing renewal program. That's, that'd be like if you took your car into the mechanic to get fixed, and you took it in, it was a blue Toyota when it went in, and when you came back on the Monday to pick it up, or the Friday to pick it up, he handed you back, a white Ford, you'd be, hey, that's not the same vehicle I dropped in. Well, that's exactly what's happening with the public housing renewal program. They're going to tear down public housing, and they're not putting back as much public, well, they're not putting back basically any public housing. It's going to be social housing, community housing, and they are different models. And we need to be, serious about this. They are different models. And especially in social housing, some people can be outpriced out of the market, whereas in public housing they can't be, because it's, set as a percentage of your income. And if you're on a really low income, well, you can only pay 25%. Well, that's what it is. But we've had continued protests. I'm not the only person that's vocal about this. There's many other people, and I've been able to cover some of the protests and actions that are going on, and I'm sure into 2019 there'll be more of that sort of thing going on, unfortunately. I'd love to see the day when we don't have any protests about housing, public housing, homelessness. That would be an amazing thing, and I'd be able to just focus on all the really cool shit going on. Whereas, you know, it's a struggle because there's a lot of really good stuff going on, but against the backdrop of thousands of people being homeless is really, really tough. So that's why I try to balance it out. You know, I love to get into the paid work and I want more of that, but it's also important to you know, get out there and showcase some of the really important stuff that's going on. And I mean, this is about people's lives ultimately, so we need to treat it fairly seriously. In terms of my own position and where I'm at the end of the year, I had two focuses for last year. One was to complete my degree, and the other one was to get a set of wheels in the driveway. On the basis of it, I failed on both attempts, so I didn't complete my degree, and I haven't got a set of wheels in the driveway. I have had some money pour into the GoFundMe, and that's still open and running, and here's the address for it. And if anyone's out there wants to chip in, that'd be great. It'd be a game changer, I can tell you. I'm still knocking back work. I'm still not being able to cover some of the things I'd like to cover. I'm just not being able to produce as much stuff as I'd like to produce as efficiently as I could if I had my own car sitting in the driveway, and that's the fact of it. In terms of my degree, well, I'm at the crossroads, to be honest. I'm getting into the paid work, and I only ever did the degree to get the work. Well, if I'm going to get the work, and some of my clients don't particularly care. All they're concerned about is, can I do the job that I say I can do? And what's been great is my YouTube channel shows that I can do the job that I say I can do. I can produce content, I can edit it together, I can do the camera work, I can cover the audio stuff, and that's really cool. So that's part of what my YouTube channel is about. I'm not there to try and have 1 million, you know, subscribers. That's not my focus. My focus is to be able to have a place where I can say to potential employers and clients, hey, look, go and have a look at a couple of these episodes, and you'll see some of the stuff. If you look from the start to the finish, there's been to where I am now, not the finish, but the start to where I am now. You can see early on it was very rough, and my camera work wasn't as good. I didn't have all the gear I've got now, and the audio wasn't as good, I can tell you. And so it's good to see there's been, you know, you have to evolve. You know, Steve Jobs told us, you evolve or die, and that's very much what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to evolve. Next year, if I can get the money, I'm looking at upgrading my main camera. So that would be another big thing, but I've got some other things to get done first. More importantly, I've got to get a set of wheels. So with some of that paid work, I've been able to buy some extra gear, which is going to be a bit of a game changer. So today, for instance, I'm nice and close. I'm about 4 meters from the camera, and I'm using the wireless. I've got the wireless lapel taped onto my chest, just under the t-shirt, and hopefully it's coming through nice and clear. In the past, I could also use my, I've got in here's my Rode Blimp kit. I've got a NTG 4 Plus microphone in that. I could set that up and just put it so it's off camera, and that's really good, especially what it's designed for is when it's windy. But the more I get into it, the more you find that there's different circumstances where you've just got to be able to adapt to the type of environment that you're in. Wind can be a real issue, but sometimes you want to put the subject further away from the camera than you'd like for a variety of reasons. I've been to media conferences, for instance, where I've had to be right up the back, and it would have been nice to have got the sound down the front, and I could have run a big long cable, but cables get to be a problem, especially in a public place. So recently I researched a bit and I bought this little kit. So the wireless kit that I've got at the moment is part of the Rode Wireless Filmmaker kit. So you have a receiver unit, you have a transmitter that's on my belt, and it's all connected with a lapel mic into the transmitter, goes to the receiver, connected to the camera. But that system's only designed to put a lapel mic on. Basically, that's what it's designed for. I think myself, well, obviously a lot of people wanted some more adaptability into it, and so I've got this little kit here, and it's the Rode Newsshooter Kit. And what it's designed for is that it's got an XLR input on the end of it. It will also take a normal lapel mic, so I could plug my lapel into this and connect it up like that. But the really cool thing, and I got the mic that goes with it as well, is you can put on, this is the Rode Reporter mic, and pretty cool bit of kit. Meant to be really good in windy conditions. It's meant to have a lot more wind protection than, say, the lapel under my shirt's got no wind protection at all. The mic on top of the camera's got a little bit. The Blimp's obviously, I mean, it's the bee's knees really. If you're doing anything, you need a Blimp. They are amazing. But you can get into situations, say I wanted to have the Blimp 30 metres away, or the subject 30 metres away across the road or something, or it might be across tram tracks. Now here's the big one. I film in Bourke Street Mall a lot, and when I did this shot, this is at the opening for my doco for about the Buskers in Bourke Street. This shot was done with the lapel mic on my shirt, and we were at about 80 metres, so the range is about 100 metres, so we were right out there. So we had trams going across, so you certainly can't run a cable. But say I wanted to do something across the tram tracks, but I wanted to use the Blimp, so it was too windy even for this mic, so I really wanted to use the Blimp. Until now, I'm stuck because I wouldn't have had an option. This kit, not only will it attach to this mic, it'll attach to any XLR connection. So what I found is that you can also just plug it straight into the back of the handle of the Blimp. The only problem is, and Rode might need to think about this, you're meant to screw this up and it's meant to lock it. Now it'll lock to a normal mic, but it doesn't actually lock to this, so that'll still plug it, it'll still fall out. So I think they might need to look at that. I could open the Blimp up and put this unit inside. It'll fit inside the canister for the Blimp, and it'll go on the back of the mic. The only problem is there's very light suspension in there to suspend the microphone. I don't like the extra weight hanging on the back. So even though it's a little bit precarious, I prefer to just stick my system into the back of the Blimp like that and just keep an eye on it. It has fallen off a couple of times. What I normally do is put it in the case like so, and then at least then if it falls off, if it just falls on the ground, it's not going to get damaged, hopefully. It's only come off I think once, but I've had it sit, for quite a few hours and not been a problem. So that's another option for me. But that's going to be really cool because that'll give me some real good options. What I could do with this, for instance, I could put, if I was at a media conference, for instance, I could put the Rode mic down the front, getting the nice sound, connect up the wireless, and then have the wireless receiver on the camera, and I could be 30, 40, 50 meters back and zooming in on the subjects. I've had to do that a couple of times. Audio is a real problem. Some of the halls I've been at. This interview, for instance, with Sandell, who recently she won her seat again for the seat of Melbourne. So congratulations, Alan. There we go. I live out of her electorate, by the way, but we need to have some other people in there as well. That's good. This interview with Alan was tricky because the acoustics in the room were absolutely horrible. Have a listen to this. All right, tonight just been to a community forum about affordable housing, which is an important issue, and I've got Alan Sandell from the Greens, and really appreciate you having the chat.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, it's great. Affordable housing is a really serious issue. And I'm positive that with my new gear, I could have done that so much better, because probably put a lapel mic on would have been a start. But even the Rode Reporter mic could have given some options. So what I might do is I'm going to jump down there and I'll show you up the top here, as part of all the serious stuff I've been doing. I've been mucking around over the last couple of weeks. I bought myself a drone, just a cheap one, and I made myself I got a little landing pad up here, and I've got a bigger landing pad down there, and it's about 10 meters away. And what I try to do is I try to take the drone from here down, land on the pad down there, and then bring it back. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It can be exciting because most of the time we've got wind here as well. But I'm going to go down there and I'll talk about what's down there, and I'll use the lapel kit I've got on now, and we'll do some tests with the Blimp and the Reporter mic, and we'll see how the audio is different, changes, what works, what doesn't. I think it'll all work pretty much today because there's not much wind, but we'll try that. All right, so I'm now down in the backyard, and as you can see, the distance is about, I know direct line's probably about probably 10, maybe 11 meters, but if I had to run a cable, the cable would have to come down basically, you know, 3.5 meters, close to 4 meters, and then probably come across, you know, 8, 9, 10 meters. So I'd need like about a 15 meter, 16 meter lead, which would be fairly long. But certainly this is not a stretch for the wireless kit. Like I said, this is my little bottom heliport I made for the drone, and it's a bit of a challenge. Sometimes after I crash and I have to come down here and recover the drone, pick it up, put it on here. I actually stand about here and try to get it up onto the top landing pad. Sorry, I kept saying paddock. Top landing pad. But that can be fairly tricky as well with a bit of wind. I've done it a couple of times, but it is tricky. Anyway, so this is using the lapel mic that's just under my t-shirt. So what I'd normally do if I was doing this sort of thing and it was pretty windy is I'd set the Blimp kit up and just try and put it off camera a bit. So I might try and put it this far out and I can zoom in a bit. So I could do something like that, probably better if it points at me. So I could do something like that and get a nice tight shot, and that's not in frame. Or it might be that I might not even concerned about, you know, the microphone actually being in shot. But the trick is I haven't got a cable that I could connect. Now I've got a 10 meter lead and I've got a 9 meter lead, and I wouldn't want to join them together because one's high quality, one's sort of low quality. So I'd be stuck. So obviously wireless is the only answer. So what I'll do is I'll take off the transmitter, and what we'll do is, now I'm not sure how well you'll be able to hear me now. Probably better if I face the microphone a bit. This is the bee's knees when it comes to a bit of wind. The Blimp unit's absolutely amazing. So we'll just see what that sounds like, and then the next thing I'll do is I'll try the Rode Reporter mic, and it'll be interesting just to see the difference in sound. So I'm probably, I don't know, 2 meters probably from the microphone, which is about the distance I'd normally do it. Normally no more than about 3. So now I'm using the Rode Reporter mic, and it's a great option. Obviously allows me to move around and things like that without being tied to a cable. Obviously I don't have any worries about people tripping over stuff, and especially when I'm doing stuff in public, which quite often I am, it's easy to get someone to look after the camera, but you know, sometimes you just can't run cables. And I would have loved to have done stuff in the past where I might be across the road or something like that, just a better shot, a bit more creativeness, I suppose. And so I'd be interested to see just how well this works. I'm just trying to I'm not even sure of the levels. There's different adjustments you can have. The unit can do plus 10 dB, 20 dB, 30 dB, 40 dB. And I think on the receiver you can go minus 10 or minus 20. So that gives a lot of room to move in terms of where your levels are. But really what I need at the moment is I need someone else up there looking at the levels. I'm not sure where they're at, so it's a bit tricky. I could have probably tested that all up there, I suppose, but I didn't. So I'm not sure where the levels are, but I'm pretty sure that the audio quality would be not too bad, even with a bit of wind around. And this mic, like I said, it's got built-in wind protection, and this is a pretty good test of just how good it's going to work. And like I say, the range is only about 15 meters, so it's not testing the wireless too hard at all. But anyway, this is probably the most amount of sort of close to serious work I've done in the last week and a half. I've had a really laid back couple of weeks. It's been great. Watched some movies, played the computer games, flown the drone, and In fact, the drone's charged, so I might get it out and go for another flight. Right, actually, that's going to be about it for this episode. As much as I've dropped the weekly catch-up part of the title, I am going to get an episode up next week. I'd planned to show you some videos and photos of my drone and the little landing pads that I built, but I've decided to wrap that up into a special episode next week, all about drones. It's a really important issue. Our world's about to change. The air's about to get busier than we've ever seen before. There's lots of people wanting to use drones for a variety of purposes. So you've got Amazon wanting to do deliveries with drones. We've got Google doing stuff as well. We've also got emergency services using drones in more and more different ways, from search and rescue to fighting. Being able to put drones up above fires and see where the hot spots are. They can put infrared cameras on them and that. And actually, it's the cameras on the drones that are much of the issue for the people that don't like the drones. As much as there's people that love them, there's equally as many people that absolutely hate them. And you've got some countries that are banning commercial drone use outright, as well as even here in Australia, we've got some fairly tight controls over where you can fly them, when you can fly them, things like that. So it's a really big issue, and I plan to contact a few people and try and get a bit more of comments from both sides of the argument, and put it all together into a special package next week, because I think it's just going to be one of those things like nothing else we've seen. Maybe if you go back to the turn of last century, I think as people stood on the side of the track and watched the first motor car drive past, I think that's how much of a change it's going to be in our world, because sure, we've got airlines and helicopters and things like that, but we've seen nothing like what's coming. They're talking about not just one or two drones, they're talking about fleets of drones, they're talking about swarms of drones. I found a really cool doco that talks about just where it might be going and showed both sides, so I'm going to show a bit of that and just try to also put forward a fairly it's going to be interesting. As much as I love playing around with my little drone here, I can understand why people wouldn't be happy with people flying them over their properties and things like that. There's all sorts of privacy issues and safety and what have you. So I'm going to, like I say, next week, it's all about that. But I thought I'd leave you with this. The other day, I mean, the weather in Melbourne's always crazy, but I thought last Friday was just a little bit insane. I got home, I don't know, it was about 4 o'clock or something, and the temperature was like 43.5 or 43.6. Anyway, here's a photo. I put a little wind meter out the back, because it also does temperature, and within an hour it had descended into this basically. So it just gives you an idea how interesting and crazy Melbourne's weather can be. And yeah, certainly not drone flying weather by the end of the day. So there you go. Anyway, guys, I appreciate everyone that comes past, has a look at my YouTube channel, and I've got a bit of an audience there, so it sort of pushes me to put more and more content up. Please subscribe, and let's see if we can get to 100 subscribers. I'm at 75 or something at the moment, so I'm getting there. And roll on 2019 is going to be very interesting. There's all sorts of possibilities. It could be really, really good, which I think it will be really good, but it could also go very, very bad, and that's just the reality of it. But at the very least, it's going to be interesting. Like no other year probably ever that I've had. I stand at the start of this year and I'm filled with excitement, and all sorts of really cool stuff could be on the horizon. But like I do say, it could also go very, very bad. So it'll be interesting whichever way. I got some new kit. Got some new kit to play with, and it's going to be great to get out and use that. And I've got some jobs on the horizon. So yeah, like I say, roll on 2019. Cheers, guys.